Hi, you guys. It's MJ from Alta Love. How are you? So, today I want to talk a little bit about global warming and the mass propaganda around global warming and the divisive angling. And thank you so much. This is actually based on one of your guys's emails. And I got to say, like, I really do always appreciate when you guys reach out and just have questions about, like, what do you think of this? And what do you think of that? And then that helps, like, that often gives me a bit of guidance as far as topic shares and what is relevant in your guys's reality. Now, global warming, and let's be honest, this isn't new, right? Most of us would have been in our teens probably when global warming became a propagated news agenda. And in my field, it is still that. It is a propagated news agenda based in fear. And it has a lot to do with mass control and enslavement. At the same time, the double edge here is that it is still true that we as people on this planet are in our blind consumerism and our ignorance and our, you could say, fall from grace. We are destroying this habitat. We're actually destroying the planet. However, like George Carlin jokes about, um, this isn't, I would say this isn't like the fate of this earth. And only to think that we as a human uh, have that kind of, wielding power over over the scale and the magnitude and divine power of a planet, um, is ridiculous in a sense. So recognize that creation, the ever evolving aspect of creation, is this recycling of energies. The way I see global warming is there is a very grounded reality to global warming, and as such as it's triggering the mass awakening. The mainstream media corrupted news agenda, the environment, political corruption, and false economy. So there's an element of these four pillars that, of course, are the foundation of the old world. They're all being uprooted. And that's why we're seeing the rise of protests. We know that France has the yellow vests. We've got a global movement happening called the Extinction Rebellion, which is essentially addressing that our unconsciousness is killing off the species, including ourselves, right? And this is part of, I would say, this cataclysmic uh, event, these turning point events where you have the 5G encroaching on mass freedom that triggers again this global awakening. And of course, this is a spiritual awakening of sorts. At the same time, I don't have a divisive mentality around spirituality or non-spirituality. In my awareness, the entire creative field of so-called reality is of spirit essence. We're not fixed material beings. Materiality is an illusion of cosmic creation for fun. So we're really, as spiritual, energetic, eternal beings, in choosing an incarnation on this in this realm, to undergo. And hence why some of us are here having this shared experience is that we only ever came here for this mass awakening and paradigm shift. It's an evolution of light codes, and um, this insight came to me. It's kind of dark, but again, it's more about being completely detached with awareness. Is that there's a compounding, pressurized shift in evolution, whereby the lowest, and remember, we're all contained in unity. In unity, we are really, in essence, all one, and there are no victims. And so um, in fact, the only real victimhood is a projection of victimhood via via kind of distorted perspectives. Um, but in order for evolution to occur, we need to be able to really see the what we're evolving out of. So we're seeing this idea of like mass sort of volatility, extreme, total uh, delusion on like next level delusion, um, extremism, right? So we see this volatility being played out, which is an aspect of our consciousness evolving to another level. And part of it is this recognition of how the oppressed are being pushed. So masses and masses and masses, those oppressed being pushed down. Eventually there's nowhere for it to go. And so it evolves. It evolves to this next level. And in this evolutionary leap, there's a bunch of energy that kind of gets wiped out for the birthing of the new. Often in our human mind, I think we get really consumed by the conflict and the drama of it, because we, in essence, that's part of the agenda. That's part of the kind of cunning agenda of mainstream. It's that we all get consumed and or addicted. We feel our life force is attached to these trigger points of drama. The next war, everything's going to get it. We have 10 years left. 10 years left to live on this planet. Who's propagating these ideas, right? And then for some of us, there's an awareness, including Brendan, who shared this kind of like, what do you think of this? It's that there's a profiteering agenda behind the mainstream media, which is and a lot of social media at this point, which is why I'm like, this is so relevant to the next course. But like, just why I encourage you guys, unplug. Stop watching the news. Stop reading the articles that are divisive, because they're propagating that divisiveness in you, in us. And then you'll notice it. They instill, oh my God, what's happening? Or choosing a side. What's real? What isn't? What's true? What isn't? I don't know. We can't figure that out for nobody else. It's only the self that can figure it out. And we can make peace with our actions to this point. And when the more we unplug from other agenda, the more we can become clear channels of an expression, which is, to me, the choosing of this new paradigm expression. There again, if we can't change anything out there, and yet we're being faced with an issue, then it's ourself that we change to become it, be the change we wish to see. If we see a world gone insane that's just blindly consuming, then become sane and consume with conscious awareness. Be very discerning about where are we spending our money, i.e., where are we putting our attention. And then also, this is part of the, for me, the teachings of the Fearless Life Guide, which is a huge piece, which is incredibly relevant, and at the same time, what I recognize is not necessarily how humans are trained to be in this world. Sadly, what my life experience has shone out to me in my naivety and innocence is that people lie and cheat to get what they want in this world, and thus what I recognize is that the system itself is almost perpetuating and training people. Not almost, it is training people to be narcissistic, training people to just do whatever it takes to get ahead and get theirs in. And in the Fearless Life Guide, what I'm encouraging people to do is to give of the self. Stop putting money and power and sex as these, and this is really coming out for me in my meditations and general awareness, is that our sexual freedom, and that has nothing to do with and they give sexual free love. No, it has nothing to do with that. It's about you own your own body. And as so long as if we're using words, or we're using our sexuality, or whatever we're using to get something, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. And we talk about law of attraction, we talk about manifestation in these so-called spiritual circles, and yet everyone's just looping back into manipulating, to lying, and abusing one another because we're not clear about what we're feeling. So now is a time to get fucking clear about how you're feeling, to disengage from divisive, fearful tactic agendas and in the mainstream media and social media, and to choose how you're going to imagine the world and the future of our humanity here. Are we going to change? Are we going to have a mass awakening? Are we in it now? Are we going to paradigm shift? Are we going to choose to become self-responsible creators? Are we going to choose to lead with compassion? It's not, and this is relevant to that email because this is not the only one of its kind. People ask me, people email me about this doom and gloom. What do you think about global warming? Is it real? Is it true? It just seems also doom and gloom. Well, that's another fantastic way to oppress people and keep them in their apathy. Well, there's nothing we can do. Why bother trying? Right. Why bother changing? Because you have no control. You have no say in anything that goes on out there. It's just fed to you, and we're all expected to just fucking keep eating all the lies about our home, because our home is our own creative potential. It's an elixir from within the self. It's an elixir from within our own creative vision, and we're in this co-creatively, for sure. And where we choose to live and who we choose to surround ourselves with is incredibly important, whether internet land or real life, because we are bridging these realities. And then, be present, focus on the healing. I still am amazed, really. Yeah, I'm randomly getting like a bit of a wave. I just also really want to promote this, you guys. It would be really useful to me, and it is useful to me, to buy this, to share it around. It's been brought to my attention, and like I'm just, you guys get me. I'm just this random loner chick and who's been on this path, and like it's just come into my awareness that people like plagiarize and stuff, and I know the truth, like in my heart, and so like that ain't gonna stop me, like that ain't gonna kind of but at the same time it definitely like you noodle with it, and there's fears that come up around in this world, certainly, where people are obsessed with copyrights and trademark and possession and ownership, and I'm really not. And at the same time, over my past patterning, it's not like I want to be used or pushed aside or anything like that. And I process stuff inside my heart space when it comes to people basically denying me, and then weeks or months later seeing them quote and or use certain aspects, and then so I'm sitting with that. That's obviously a very personal thing, but the more you can't take away someone's life path. That's the point. You can't take away the essence of who someone is. So regardless of people kind of stealing the material and pretending it's their own awareness or whatever. It's all one anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Transparency is the legit truth. I'm not interested in playing games, and I'm also not interested in making excuses for people's bad behavior. The point is that we're living in these times, and we can either take responsibility and own our shit and transform our shit, or we can continue to blame and attack people. It's that simple. And it can be really subtle. People might be saying one thing, but in their heart field, they're actually fucking throwing daggers at you. So just be really, really aware and present. Now, I'm just going to quickly share this about global warming. The mass propaganda about global warming, it's so fearful that, again, it can often polarize people into blind consumerism. Let's just keep shopping, let's just keep drinking, let's just keep ignoring all of it, right? So that's the weird paradox of propagating this fearful agenda, is that it actually makes people more apathetic and complacent. The other sort of like cunning, like, push down that we have as the enslaved masses here is the quick fix mentality. Is that there's more and more of us in this sort of millennial generation that people want it, and they want it now. If they can't buy it, if they can't press a finger, if they can't whatever, they just give up. Somebody, again, I'm referring to this fire documentary that I watched on Netflix, and nearing the end, one of these fellas in the fire crew, he was one of the, like, I think the original app, or like one of the original sort of developers of this great idea. And then obviously it all got fucked by the festival and the main dude. But it was interesting to me that this one guy was, devastated, being like, we worked on this thing for a whole year. And I was like, that to me isn't a great deal of time. And I'm not like disregarding the brutality of having something you've worked on, whether it's a week or a month or a year. When you've invested your passion into something and it doesn't work out, that's devastating. I'm just aware of somebody who's been kind of plugging away at this paradigm shift thing for like 17 years. And having had that compassionate shift around eating animal products at the age of 12, and having an awareness of being kindness and having compassion and not wanting to sacrifice my inherent principle to make money or to profit in this world. And all these years later, finding that to be quite a radical thing. And at the same time, you can feel the pressure being pushed. And that's why I share quite diligently and persistently, is that I cannot, and I refuse to be taken out and to be taken under by the forces that would have us believe that we are powerless. And I live simply, and I live from my heart. And I recognize that I've allowed myself and chosen to be abused and used by people of this world simply for my own learning. And as I integrate these lessons now, I can firmly say there are no victims on this planet. We're in a co-creative unfolding. And I'm simply an empath who has become aware that it's in this here now present moment that people can either own their own emotions or project them and spill them out onto other. And oftentimes it's our entitled privileged communities who are holding onto their power and refusing to address their own inner issues. This is the ultimate symbol of, in our communities, the narcissists being called out. Those covert narcissists who have been playing games, who have wanted us to do this and do that. That's all now the carpet's being ripped out from under that collective. And this is why we're continuing to observe the mass awakening. The mass awakening is going to help us take the blinders off, and it's going to help us to anchor in and ground down, take our shoes off, sit down, shut up, and get clear. Because the quick fix mentality is connected to blind consumerism, and all of it is relevant to our ability to rise out and heal. Now, this is why in my notes here, I've actually put like hashtag hive mind, hashtag unplug. So I mean, you've got the hive mind of totally kind of, for the most part, blind and unconscious, although the hive wouldn't think they are. They know stuff, right? But they're actually in the hive of the propagated mainstream agenda. Those of us that are able to observe it, we're the ones who really need to anchor into this path now, the paradigm shift. Be in the new paradigm. Focus on how you wish to see. So if we're looking at how chaotic the world is, then how do you think everybody should be? Then adopt that way of life. Um, Again, that's part of how the four pillars for Alta Love's movement came about. Unplug, which I'm going into production for soon. Unplug from mainstream and mostly social. Um, be aware of what you're putting in your mouth. Be aware of what you're buying. What industries are you buying into? This is a supply and demand kind of world that we've created, and so we have to figure out how to undercut. If we become more conscious consumers around our food, we suction the life force out of things like Monsanto, out of the corruption. When we start to invest our money in companies like Alta Love, or companies who are pioneering new world, or no, I don't like to use that world, new paradigm creativity, then we suction, we funnel the money out of companies like McDonald's or Starbucks, or any other company that is still perpetuating, let's just take. And I really want to address something. I've recently come across an advert. I'm being for some reason bombarded by advertising on YouTube by a company named Mind Valley that I sit with and hold space with. I have utmost respect really for all of humanity. And yet one of their recent advertising campaigns is really getting to me, because the first little hook is like something around like, knowledge is power, and the quicker you can learn, the quicker you can earn. And I think, there again, it's just that same old fucking story in a different veil. It's like Gaia programming. There's still an agenda. Just be mindful of that. Mind Valley, right? Like, just the quicker you can learn, the quicker you can earn. I'm like, I'm so fucking tired of hearing people be like, "What can you earn?" I'm like, I'm done with that economy. I think we should stop triggering people into thinking they need to earn more money and read more books. No, just fucking get clear about who you are and what kind of world you want to see, and then live that. That's the balls out reality for me. And like, the majority of people, even in around me, wouldn't have any idea the depths of what I've been going through in this last cycle. How many people I've lost, and I mean people who I lost because they either chose to not support me, or we went our separate ways, you know? And this isn't a victimy thing either. I'm just saying how it is. The amount of debt that I've gone into, how little over some of these last few years, how little, support financially or whatever I've had, and the way you just manage to get by, which is why, really, in earnest, when you choose a manifestation path, I would say often money is the last thing to show up, because let's be honest, in our world, money is something we use to control ourselves and one another. We micromanage and control our lives through our income, and then make excuses why we can't change our lives. But really, it's because we live in fear. Not we. This collective is much more free, but the hive mind collective. So again, if the propaganda is hurting you and it's making you fearful, unplug from it. Address your life. Live in unity with your true self. How do you feel living in harmony on this planet? If there is an issue out there with global warming, don't put the issue out there. Integrate it inside the self and make changes according. Buy Zenville Zero Waste. Learn from Katie and I about how to become more conscious with your waste, and then share it. Promote it. Tell people, yeah, I've gone zero waste, or I'm going low waste, and I've Found this great company. Yeah, thanks, guys. You know, I found this great company who's doing these things. Share the new paradigm with people. Become the new paradigm, because none of us are in control of this awakening. At the same time, we do have much greater dominion and mastery over the self, over the vessel that we are, and that is our power. We have power in communication, regardless of whether or not there's censoring happening. It's all coming in divine time, because the awakening is happening whether the controller forces like it or not. The mass awakening is happening from within the self of creation. This is why, on an intuitive higher level, many of us as empaths and highly sensitives and light workers, whatever the fuck you want to call us, it's in our beingness. This awakening, this transformation, this perception, it's in us, and it's in all. It's in all. We've just had this very peculiar journey of dumbing that down, of cutting it out, and then in that we put all of our power outside of us, and there we have this controller and the reptilians and these systems that are controlling us. Hence paradigm shift. The power's out there, we reclaim it, we integrate it, and we shift it, and now we give the power back to the people. In the interim, though, there's a lot of healing that needs to take place, and I think that's where the four pillars come in. That's why I don't, go bang on about spirituality. I just say here's some key spiritual concepts, is simplify them. It's always going to come back to you. There's no external power. So spirituality needs to be simplified and not overly no dogma, actually, because the only spirit essence is the self. Which is why going round and round in circles in your healing communities and perpetually looking for things and people and the things to blame about why things are so insane or why my life is so shitty. That's the ultimate function of that program, is to disconnect you from the self. So you're always looking out there. Where am I? Oh, that hurt. Oh, that's that person. That, we're sort of crumbling under the pressure of it all, and at the same time our reactivity and our explosiveness is also delayering us, so that different shades and aspects of the self are coming out. People and systems and institutions we once trusted and believed in, the veil's being lifted. They're not real. And ultimately, this is the true power of our perspective and vision, especially aligning it with like minds, is that we literally can transform the world in an instant. We can change the course of our humanity in an instant. It's a choice. And the choice is in the here now, not in the future, not in any past, the here now present. How do you want to feel on this planet? How do you want to live? Based on the authenticity of how you want to feel. And I gotta say, unplugging from mainstream, not watching and not engaging with the articles that propagate a divisive agenda, and one that is hopeless. Let's be honest. There's a lot of propagated agenda now about 5G and about global warming, which would have us just be like, well, we fucked it. But recognize that there is an agenda. People are telling these stories for their own reasons. And the only solution is in you. And the truth is in you as well. That's why I sometimes feel you even come to ask these questions, is that you already know the truth. You already know your responsibility. And I have full trust and faith in this humanity. Full trust and faith. We have movements uprising like the Extinction Rebellion all over the world. We have people waking up and realizing their power all over the world. But remember, these stories of the positivity of mass awakening ain't going to be propagated in the mainstream media. Which is why little old channels like me really appreciate people like Aluna or people sharing the message, because nobody gets to profit out of this. No one's going to get to maintain power and control out of the company that I'm building, because it has nothing to do with profiteering, because it has nothing to do with power over control tactic and domination. It is a pure heart space of love and awakening for the empowerment and betterment and a shift into a more harmonious frequency of this planet. Once we shift into that harmonic, we don't need economy, because economy was set up to invoke the mass control over humanity. For whatever reason, we needn't psychoanalyze it. We needn't go back and figure out why. It's done. But now we can focus our energy on a world that isn't being destroyed by insanity. So it becomes our responsibility as the beings of light to hold love, to see the world through the eyes of love, and to pretty much as we can solely focus on that. And then as and when we get triggered, deal with our own trigger, deal with our own underlying emotional shit. And I just want to, like, I just need to kind of share publicly. This is so probably like ego based, but to the people in the world who are kind of disowning me and then paraphrasing my material, but then giving no credit to this material, it's all one. It's all transparent. And the deeper you go, the deeper you will know the truth. And this doesn't belong to anything, and yet I do know the life that I've lived, and I'm grateful. That's all. I'm just grateful, and I have no copyright, so you can, or maybe actually I'm sure it is, but like feel free, share it, because I'm not interested in possessing. I don't, even my own thought and my own life, I'm not in possession of it because I'm still gonna leave. So really the mesh for all to love is like a legacy. It's a movement toward a greater loving world. It's not something that I'm taking with me to the grave, and it's not something that I have any desire to power over people. Like most of us on this path, we just want enough money to like live well, do some traveling, and feed the people in our community and make sure the people in our said communities are okay and are well. There's no, certainly at this point, there's no, not that there hasn't been in the past, and that's part of the shedding process. That's part of shedding certain types of energies that might have different egoic illusions around this movement. But yeah. Oh, totally lost my train of thought. That must be the end. You guys, I love you. And I've had 2 days off and it feels like a long time. But I just want to send you love, big hugs. And Avi, I didn't go live. I'll build up to that. I'm just giving you guys a big hug. And I'll continue to noodle over this stuff. Again, please do feel free to reach out. And oh, and this is quite exciting actually. I do now have coaching packages. So with an increase of inquiry around sessions, and just not like everybody, but like there's only been a couple of you who have been like, those are expensive. And that my ad hoc kind of like my session rate is just a bit higher. And I do like, I love, just quick jump on, get some clarity, and off you go. But it is happening that there's layers, and some of you are wanting longer extended packages. And so I've simply sectioned it off into a 3-month package, a 6-month package, and a 12-month package for coaching. And you get some intuitive yoga sessions, and you'll see by looking at them. And that means that your guys is like that hourly rate, it goes down for like each. So 3 months, little less, 6 months, little less, and then 12 months, considerably less. But it means there's a little bit, you'll know intuitively, if I'm speaking to you, you guys will know if it's you. And ideally you'd pay it in one go, but if you needed a payment plan, I'd work that out. Like if the 12-month package is 2222222. So, we could divide that up into 3 or 4 over the course of the year and work it out that way. This is radical stuff. And this is what I acknowledge is that we all need support, we all need love, and this is part of it. Intuish is saying help people out, give some packages because some of you have been ever so kind in making donations, but I'm also aware that I feel the support of donation. I just want to make sure that I'm doing what I can for you and for me, right? Because we're all one. So so more people are awakening to narcissistic uh, patternings in personal relationships, in family dynamics, and then in the globe, in the world, more people are awakening to the fucked upness of it all, right? Hence, are supporting one another to promote again positive stuff because I'm aware. So if you look up Thrive Movement, or if you look up Sasha Stone's work, Sasha Stone's doing newearthproject.org, and then I think it's just thrive.com. You can watch the fact that we already have all of the technology and tools that can take us into new paradigm, greater harmonious living. Our healing modalities will shift, and the consciousness of humanity is what's healing us. And then as we heal, it's our vessels which are birthing in the vision of our new earth world. Jock Fresco, the Venus Project, Sasha Stone, the New Earth Project, and I think his name's Foster Gamble, Thrive Movement. So all of these are the kind of Trinity aspects which are anchoring into the earth field and showing us the way of greater bioresonance on this planet, us aligning with plant. Oh, and then little movements like my own where I've recently come across land in the southwest of England, been guided to it, been guided to a modern medicine man. I ended up having a mushroom ceremony with this shaman and realized that barefoot on the ground, spring, summer season, it's like being guided. Also loves being guided to be able to hold space for people under those parameters of like yoga, meditation, crystal, Sao Paulo, saging, intentional healing, and then taking some mushroom tea to help get really tuned in to the resonance of the planet. It's already all within us, and I'm not somebody who promotes anything in a super addictive way. At the same time, we are all addicted to life. Like that, we wouldn't be here if we didn't want to live life and have these experiences. And as someone guided through this paradigm shift, it's like, now where am I? So this next aspect, even though it scares the living daylights out of me, I know that I'm being guided to talk about sex energy in my own authentic way. And it's funny to me because the amount of people that comment or want to make contact and tell me what tantra book to read or tell me that I need to have a session with them based on is amazing. And that also highlights to me, holy shit, man, our sexuality is powerful, and that's why it's been disconnected. That's why it's been shamed. That's why we've been banished to the bedrooms to make love while we propagate war and violence in the mainstream media. So and then we all have these heavily laden distortion around shame and guilt in our bodies and sex. So reclaiming our sexual power and freedom is incredibly important at this time, but it doesn't look like mass orgies. It doesn't look like right, because then we have the swing and the polarity, which is AIDS and sexual uh diseases, because we can't just go fucking around but whilst we're still carrying all the shame and guilt. That's distorted, that's not healthy. And yet it might be par for the course. What's healthy is us having a true knowing of like we are sexual creatures, and we can either put it out in the open as far as what are our desires. We must hold our desires in a sacred container and be able to express them. Otherwise, they get distorted, and then we have really frightening things like violence in porn and disempowerment in an industry that really we want to shine light into it. And part of it is a big piece of female disempowerment of our historical context of how women have been possessions, been controlled. We've denied our own self. We've denied our own sexuality. And yeah, it is scary to start to bring it out. None of us want to be called a whore. None of us want to be called a prude. But then you start to realize, wow, I live in a world where nobody gets to win, because we're all ashamed of who we are and we're afraid to express our truth. And then when we do, we get shunned for it. And that is what's all turning around. I can honestly say, as much as this has been kind of like a heavy-ish share, things are truly turning around. We really are stepping into new energies. I've got global transformation as well and truly underway. We are now living in the new cycle. Well, purely the fact that I can actually talk about this stuff and not be demonized, not be demonized at all, and share it and have it be received. The point is, we all want to be more joyful, but if we're not having healthy sex on a regular basis, I don't think we're living our full potential. There's a book called the Magdalene Manuscript. It talks about Ka and activating our Ka body, which is really the light codes and ultimately our ability as a human being to vibrate more in the realm of ecstasy and bliss, but in a grounded, anchored way, which really is an enlightened and joyful state of being whereby people who enter your field can be healed. Apparently Jesus and Mary Magdalene would have been practicing sex magic, which is really just really fucking awesome sex that feels so good that you're in a state of transcendent bliss, and then you both climax and then you merge as one. And that beloved, that ooey gooey love hot vibrashe is what invokes the light body. But of course, if you want to control a human population, if the most powerful thing, then you disconnect them from that. You instill fear right at the root, right at the core of our beingness. So we go through puberty in this culture, and that's usually when most of us start to take on the trauma. We hide, we shame, we deny, we fuck in the shadows, we use drugs and alcohol, we get totally out of it, and then engage where our sexual, and especially for women, because women are socially programmed to believe they have to find a man to survive in the world. And again, that's a true historical context for a lot of us, not everybody, but for a lot of us. And until we're able to in an intelligent and compassionate way, really understand that we're vibrating our past programming, and yet in the here now we have an ability to transform it, but not as long as we're blaming and attacking. If I'm blaming all men for my disempowerment, then I keep that system in place. And that's another reason I loop back into, I'm really damn tired of making excuses for poor behavior. People are in their poor behavior, I'll leave them to it. But so long as they're blaming and attacking, I don't want anything to do with it, because that only loops me back into that same energy. Imagine that your whole vision and point of attraction, there is only you in your world. There is only you in your world. Get really clear about the kind of world you want to see. And hey, reach out. Buy the book a coaching, or grab yourself a coaching package, and stay tuned and check out our Be the Change online courses. Feel free to share any ideas that you might have to keep promoting All to Love. Oh yeah, buy some sweatshirts. That's a nice way to promote the business, isn't it? As a new paradigm movement, yes, it's a business, yes, it's a brand, but truly the point of it is to actually transform. So to collapse a false economy based in greed and enslavement, and to birth new paradigm communities all over the world where inspired creatives can come together and create the world that lives in harmony with the bioresonance of this planetary realm. Not some weird motherboard, dark octopus spider grid that is like totally like frazzled. Yeah, totally kind of messed up. So anywho, there you go, you guys. I'm outie. Have a great day. just it is what it is today, isn't it? I have so much love for you, and I'm so grateful for all of you. Feel free to keep sharing this channel, these messages, if you feel that anyone in your life or anyone around might be able to use them, then I really, really appreciate that. Mosta, I just love you guys, and I'm so grateful for how you've appeared in my life and how you're showing me the way as I share with you whatever comes through. I love you guys. Have an awesome day. Peace out.